bright in here. It's really bothering my eyes. What it is, guys, it is your girl Cadillac. Yes, I'm Cadillac Dixon. I'm the drama like prison wife. I'm the legally blind artist that is rapping and painting for justice. Hoping, because you got to hold your breath for justice. To see justice before all face too bleak is it's your girl Cadillac. I can't even see my face on this because my eye is so blurry. Give me 1 second, guys. It's actually no better. Yeah, so I'm still waiting for to get my new contact. But right now it's like a haze over it, so I really cannot see that well. But I work with what I got left, girl. So the bit of vision that I have is what I'm going to use to get by. But anyways, I'm coming through. Today is May the 9th, 2025. Um, Speaking of that, my vision changed kind of when I was in the hospital. Y'all know back in mid-March, I had a health scare, and it almost took me up out of here. Girl, that right. And I was not trying, but it was right on time. But yeah, it almost took me out of here. And upon coming home, being released from the hospital, um, it gives you a different perspective on life. It gives you the perspective that any time past that point where you know you could have been up out this door, you realize it's borrowed time. We don't borrow time anyway. Time is just like that. And we don't have moments. We need to be trying to, you know, do what it is that we were put on this earth for while we have the time. Time is of the essence, right? So we have to make the best use of it. So let me tell you a little bit before we get to the point of this video, which it is we're going to read a petition of someone that is wrongfully incarcerated, currently wrongfully incarcerated. That is what I believe is my purpose, the reason why I am the OG prison wife, the reason why I have been fighting for my husband so long without resolve. I know it can't all be for naught, and I believe it was just to have me walk in these shoes so that I can understand and that I can know firsthand how people, the way people are going through it, right? I can understand, I can relate, and then I can bring light to it. It may not be really for myself. It may not be for me and my husband to be reunited, you know. That may not be, ugh, I don't like how he's just sitting up like that. That may not be, you know, my destiny, right? It may not. I actually, which is weird. Now, I believe God has been talking to me for a long time. Even like before when I was a child and I didn't know what he was saying, I didn't understand it. I think he was still talking to me. And he actually told me, I believe, long ago that I was going to be alone. That actually scared the gel out of me when I had that vision as I would say about 11-year-old. But now I kind of understand it. When you go on certain paths like this, and when you have certain destinies, many times you have to do them alone. I think that kind of also is the kind of the reason why it's just not panning out that my husband coming home. Maybe one day it is for me to be um, in a relationship, but with okay, relationship with the person here with me, right? Maybe this time as single, meaning I'm by myself at home. Because it's crazy, you're single but you're together, right? That could be the time that God is using me most. He wants to use me the most while I am alone. That's why he showed me as an 11-year-old child that I would be alone, right? And Another thing that he showed me, which is so crazy, the beginning of this year, I really felt like God was just telling me to rest. If you know me, even if you don't know me in person, if you've even been on social media watching me for any length of time, you know that I go, 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 go. Hard work has never been scary to me. I will be the single mother. I will be the student. I will be the full-time worker. I will be the graveyard shift worker. I will be the entrepreneur chasing dreams. I will do it all. I'll just go, 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 go. I'll be the advocate online advocating um, for wrongful convictions and please sign my husband's petition and this and that. I'll just go, 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 go. Um, Baby, I don't even need to eat like that. I don't even need to sleep like that, which is kind of what attributed as well. It's some other things, but attributed as well to my health collapse that I had. The near deleting experience that I just had at the beginning of the year. And it's because those things don't matter to you when you have a goal, you have a purpose, and you're trying to pursue and achieve that, right? But I just felt at the beginning of this year that God was just saying, rest. Just rest, my child. Just rest. Because I have been going basically for over 20 years when my daughter was born. When my daughter was born, it started this whole thing. My husband was wrongfully arrested 2 months after having her, and it was like from that point, my life has been crazy. I've just been chasing. And I believe he was just telling me to rest. So I couldn't pull myself together to do my art. I couldn't pull myself together. I would want to do a video and I'm like, oh, I'm just too tired. Like I did not know what was happening to me. I actually was in ketoacidosis. Did not know. But the way I was dealing with it was just laying down, just barely getting through work and laying down. And I remember having a dream where I never told this dream to anybody, but I had a dream, and in the dream, I was at my aunt's. It's so crazy. I was in my aunt's neighborhood, and I looked up and I'm like, oh shoot, I gotta get to work. Like, that's an average day. I'm doing the most, and then oops, I gotta go to work. And time got away from me, so I gotta run. So I get ready to go outside, and I don't even have, which is crazy, I was on foot. I didn't even have a car. So that doesn't make sense because I'm like, if this was real life, I would have drove my car to my aunt's house because it's right around the corner. But somehow I walked. So I'm like, how am I going to get to work from here? I got to walk, and it's going to be, it's going to take me the longest to get to work. So I start moving, and I don't know how, but I make my way through this ditch. It's like uh, a big open grassy area, but it goes down like this, and then it comes back up, right? And around the part that it comes back up, there's a gate. So I start running across the open ditch, and I come to the gate, and there's a hole in the gate. And I get ready to go through the hole in the gate because I'm like, I can cut through here and get to where I need to go faster rather than walk around. But as I get to the hole in the gate, there is, oh my gosh, this is my ultimate fear. Y'all know I'm here in Florida, and Florida got that wildlife. Anytime y'all go vlogging with me, I stay back from the lakes. Because like I just told you, there was a gator when I went to visit Marcello last week. Gator up there in the street crossing the road. There be snakes, and I am afraid for my life of snakes. I cannot stand snakes, which is crazy. Work at a theme park, and a snake came up on me, and I had popped my contacts out, so I really couldn't see it, but I could see the movement. And the girl is like, "Oh, he's so cute and cuddly." I'm like, "Cute and cuddly, girl? Is you crazy?" Oh, though they scare me so much. So in the dream, as I'm coming up to the opening in the gate, it is a snake right there. And I'm like, I'm not gonna be able to get through this gate because the snake is right there. Now it wasn't a big snake, it was a small snake, but I'm scared of every single type of snake there is. Like, girl, I do not do that at all whatsoever. So I'm approaching the gate and I stop and I hesitate and I don't go in. All of the sudden, in the dream, across my shoulder, my dad comes and he's like, "What's wrong?" I said, the snake is blocking the way. And he comes across it and clogs it on its head. I don't know what he had in his hand, but he bops the snake on the head. And now he said, "There, you can go through. It's clear. You can go through." And I took that dream as though God was basically, in the dream, that was my father. But in reality, it was the Heavenly Father coming across. And the enemy was blocking my path through. The enemy has been blocking me forever, y'all. Like, there's no real, there is really no real reason I should not be abundant. There is no reason. I put in the work. I put in the effort. I've been praying since day one. I've been fasting. I've done it. Like all the things like that you're told to do. I've been patient. Y'all know I've been more than patient. And waited my turn. And I learned how to, because another thing he used to get me with was seeing everybody else achieve the same things I'm trying to achieve. Before, I used to get like cringe, like bitter, and I started actually learning how to be happy and not always be like, "But why not me?" You know. But so I was getting better even with that. So I'm doing the things, but I'm still not abundant, and it never made any sense to me. I always felt like I was being blocked, like the enemy was just blocking every avenue for me. And in this dream, he was actually blocking the way through. And when my father came across and bopped him on his head and said, "You're clear to go through," I woke up and I was praying, "Thank you, Lord, thank you, thank you, thank you." Just giving praises because now that the enemy in my life is knocked out and I'm free to actually be abundant like I should be, oh my gosh, this changes the game. So I was free to go through, is what I took that my Heavenly Father told me. But yesterday, I was kind of like, so why am I still not preaching this abundance? You told me I was free to go through. And I kind of journal, and I wrote that question in my journal, but it really be to God, right? And I got an answer. And it was because I was free to go through. But I believe what became a distraction was the getting sick. Because I had got on some good paths. I got on some very good new behaviors, new ways of life. And if you can do a new way of life long enough, it becomes your actual habit in life. And I started new habits and new paths, you know, with January coming. And then when I got sick in February and March, it kind of pushed all that out the way. And my focus shifted to now my health. Like, you know what I'm saying? It kind of threw me off. And I'm like, it kind of took me aback because I'm like, if I'm not going to be here, then what am I doing any of this for anyway? Saying all that to say, I got out of alignment. gotta get back into alignment with my purpose, my life, and the choices I'm making. Are they aligning, like Miss Latoya O'Keefe's be saying? Like she explained it so perfectly in her video yesterday, which I believe that video is a little bit of my confirmation when I asked God, what's wrong? You told me I was free to go through, like what's happening? I got out of alignment. So I have to get back into alignment, which is going to take prayer and guidance and God ordering my steps and me not making decisions, no decision made without Him. So I said all that to say, with getting back into alignment, I have to get back to the purpose, helping others with their wrongful conviction. So I've gotten so far off of that. I haven't reviewed a wrongful conviction case in so long. There are so many people that are wrongfully incarcerated, and I have been sitting here kind of wallowing in the fact that my husband never came home. When that could be part of my purpose, but I have a bigger purpose than that. So, all that to say, we are getting back to this, and today we are going to be covering the story of Channen. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name correct. Channen or Shannon. It's spelled Channen Smith. Channen. So I'm going to say Channen, but I could be pronouncing his name wrong, and please forgive me if I am. Okay, so let me give you his website. It is Justice for Channen, gosh, I can't see. CHANNEN.org. JusticeForChannen.org. Okay, Channen is innocent. Help him regain his freedom. So we're going to go to his petition, and you know that I read petitions. I signed his petition long ago. I signed them, I shared them on my social medias, but I never really I don't think I ever really read and covered his case. So I actually read the stories. I read the petitions because I actually sat down for 3 hours and updated Marcello's petition because I know soon they're going to be closing Marcello's petition down if I don't get a little bit of traction to it. So I started to update it, and I'm going to start sharing it again. And one of the things is you just want people to, if they just knew the story, they would understand why I'm advocating for someone to be free. And I started on my journey advocating for freedom for my husband. I realized the hardest part was people believing anybody could be wrongfully incarcerated. So I started realizing that before I can break any ground, I'm going to have to show people how wrongful convictions happen all the time. And that's what started getting me out of my box of fighting for Marcello to like, whoa, hold on, there's a lot of people wrongfully incarcerated. So I started reading their petitions and sharing their petitions. Like when people send me a petition, I actually read them. Like that's not the usual. And then I started thinking, well, because people don't take that first step, let me take that first step for you. Let me read his petition for you. So let's read this one. Justice for Channen Smith. Actually, before I read, let's listen to a TikTok video because she's going to pronounce his name. That way I can know if I'm saying his name correctly or not. Because I don't want to mispronounce his name through the whole thing. Okay, so on TikTok, let's see, her name is Shells. And she is an advocate. A prison advocate. Let's see, can I get it to come up? If I can't, then I'm just gonna have to keep going. Right now, it's just, yeah, not, it's just loading, no internet connection. So forgive me. I was gonna see if I could play one of her videos, then I could see how she pronounces his name. Hold on, can I get on Instagram from here? Give me one more second. Because I think she has the same video on Instagram. And that'll work from that will work from my laptop. Nope. Now it's saying my laptop ain't connected. Now come on now. Okay. At this point, I'm sorry. Let's just read the petition because it's not working out right. Okay, justice for Channen Smith. Help get this innocent man a new evidentiary hearing. They have 1,452 verified signatures. I am going to put the link to the petition in it'll be in the comment section. If this is YouTube, I can put it in the description. For TikTok, it'll be in the comment section. Okay, decision makers. Kevin Stitt +4. Okay, do not feel, okay, here it is, the issue. Do not feel obligated to donate to this site if you are feeling led to help financially. Channen needs donations towards his legal fund. You can donate at his website at justiceforchannen.org and click the donate button. Thank you. Yes, when you donate to the change petition, what I've learned from having a change petition is that when you donate, what it does is they are paying to get the petition showed to more people visiting change.org, but it's not actually going to where it could be utilized. It could be helpful for more people to see the petition, but it also is more helpful if you can have legal defense. As you know, it is hard to fight any case, and many people end up wrongfully incarcerated because they don't have the funds for legal representation in the first place. That's why a lot of people end up finding themselves in this spot. Though you're innocent, it is very easy for an innocent person to end up wrongfully convicted. It's crazy. Okay, I am petitioning on behalf of inmate number 569312, who is incarcerated at Dick Carter Correctional Center in Hominy, Oklahoma. This is the way the media, the court system, the prosecution, and the Oklahoma Department of Correction wants you to see him, as nothing more than a number in a sea of numbers, worthy only of being locked away and never heard from again. Yet he is so much more than that. They've reduced him down to a number. Like I say all the time, I have a lot of sayings that I've came up with over all these years of advocating. And it's almost like an accountant. The numbers that they crunch, they don't give no darns about them numbers. Those numbers don't mean anything. But when you put a name to the number, then it makes more, when you show the person, you show their character, people that love them are pouring out their hearts for them, then they become more personalized, and he becomes more of Channen and not the DC number, right? But it's like, as long as they're a DC number, that's like an accountant crunching numbers. That accountant don't care nothing about the numbers. His name is Channen Ray Ozell Smith. He is a man of strong Christian faith, a son, a brother, an uncle of 8 nieces and nephews, a mentor, and a friend. Channen was working towards becoming both a pilot and a certified welder prior to his incarceration. He was a young man with a bright future ahead of him. The future was stolen from him on November 17, 2010, when he was arrested for a crime he didn't commit. Since his arrest in 2010, Channen has maintained his innocence. He was not tried by the real facts, nor by a jury of his true peers. Um, that is a usual common denominator in wrongful convictions. As you know, I speak a lot about trial. To me, my opinion, allegedly, is nothing more than a stage play. It's not really there to come to guilt or innocence. They kind of already know what they're going to do. And I believe it's just to act out like your rights are actually being fulfilled, right? They got to play through the motions. That's what I see trials being more so of. And I tell you, a lot of times the jury don't have all the pieces they need to make that sound decision. And quickly, they're deciding on the rest of a person's life. Like, it's crazy. I see it nothing more like when I went through with my husband, it felt like a sitcom. And like Recess was just a commercial break because I would see the state lawyer and Marcello's defense lawyer at each other's head, and then in between, I see Marcello's lawyer passing the state lawyer Altoids, and they're laughing and joking like he can't wait to go sit over at her table. Like it, it didn't feel real to nobody but us. My husband that was sitting on that stand, and me that was sitting out there watching him. Like, crazy. Okay, because Channen could not afford, I already said that, to hire adequate defense team, which means our justice and freedoms are not really free. It's crazy. How could it be just if the poor man can't afford it? He was appointed several different public defenders, and the one who ultimately defended Channen was overworked, overextended, going through a divorce, and therefore ill prepared to defend Channen's life. That happens quite often. That is many people that I've read, they didn't even get to meet with a public defender. The public defender was not prepared. With my husband, all he ever went through was, are you going to take the plea? Are you going to take the plea? No defense, no nothing. He said he didn't have money to pull the surveillance cameras that could have proved my husband innocent. The most detrimental part of this case you can't afford to do. Like, I don't know. So how do you actually how can you actually defend this person? You can't. It's like going to a fight, you defending, you coming with your sister, right? And you defending her life, but you come up there ill prepared and you do nothing. And your sister is taken down. Like, that's what it feels like. Like they don't put up a fight. They don't do anything. Or much of anything. In my husband's case, his public defender actually made it worse for him. He ensured that he got convicted. Channen's trial was anything but fair because of the circumstances of his upbringing and the low income and the gang-run neighborhoods that Channen grew up in. It was easy for an all-white middle-class jury to assume that someone like him could be capable of committing such a terrible act of violence. That is because there's implicit bias. We already, a lot of it is due to the media, allegedly. the media feeds us so much of the same thing over and over and over and over that we're going to already assume that people that fit a certain demographic are a certain way without even knowing them. We're going to assume that. It is implicit, which means we don't even know we do it. We do it just off rip. And to be honest, I'm seeing a lot of it on TikTok. It is almost impossible when they're talking about these cases on TikTok for them to stay on the points, on the law, on the evidence. They're always bringing in other things that have nothing to do with the case. And it's almost like a reflex action. And when you tell them, no, you have to decide the case on the facts, that's it, that's the facts, just this, they always veer off course. And it's because of that implicit bias. They already feel a certain way before even seeing the defendant. I even, there was a law school that was doing research in this, and it was like when a defendant comes in their blues, or sometimes it's an orange jumpsuit, when they see them like that, they automatically correlate that to being guilty. Whether they're innocent or guilty, because of what they have on, is already correlated to, yeah, they're probably guilty, as opposed to some defendants that come in with suits and ties and things like that, which is crazy. Like we're deciding people's fate on the things that are not even what should be deciding their fate. Channen's trial was anything but fair. Most trials. I always say that. Because of the circumstances of his upbringing and low income and gang run neighborhood that Channen grew up in, it was easy for an all white middle class jury, and that too, that's not fair. Why do they always give young BLK men all white jury? That's not a jury of your peers. And then also think about the age. Were there any young white men on this jury? Like, they're completely not giving you a jury of your peers, but they're just calling it a jury of your peers, just to kind of check off those boxes. Channen grew up. It was easy. Okay, assume that someone like him could be capable of committing such a terrible act of violence, which that means they already kind of made their mind up before listening to facts. However, many critical pieces of evidence were never presented. That's where I tell you, where it's like that map. They cut those holes in that map, but expect you to arrive to your destination. If the jury is not presented everything, how could they ever arrive to a correct verdict? They're going to arrive to guilt. I mean, if you're not giving the pertinent information, just like when they subtracted the surveillance from my husband's case, what else you got to rely on? You have to rely on the word of the officer, which that's going to trump everything, whether it's right or wrong. Just because he's an officer, they're going to believe him. He doesn't have to produce any evidence behind that. However, many critical pieces of evidence were never presented. Key witnesses were not spoken to nor asked to testify on his behalf. There was no DNA. This is also in many wrongful convictions. No DNA evidence, no Merck weapon, never recovered. Yep, that's what they did in my husband's case. Charged him with a weapon that they claim they gave good search for and never found. But charged him with it. Channen was found guilty simply based on the testimonies of incredibly unreliable witnesses. Yes, witnesses, they'll go back and forth. They'll conflict themselves. They'll have conflicts between the initial reports and then the report that they're giving on the stand. And people will still disbelieve them, like even when they're caught in their lies. Through the hard work of private investigators, advocates, and new witnesses coming forward, the truth has finally come to light, and the following facts have been revealed. There was a deleted, I don't know how to say this, let me just spell it, DEATH, bed confession from someone else. This man deleted a brain, CANCER, in January 2017, knew intimate details of the crime and wanted to clear his conscience that Channen, an innocent man, was and still is sitting in prison for this crime. This man had a physical altercation with the victim the night before the pewing, whereas Channen had never had any conflicts with the victim. This shows clear motive for the crime. The actual pewer was also was also tied to the owner of the vehicle, which was used in the crime. He also provided the location of where he disposed of the Merc weapon. Wow, how he knew all that information without being the person, which was never recovered by police. His DYING wish was for the truth of Channen's innocence to be revealed so that Channen could come home to his family. Several more witnesses have come forward to support that Channen never, I'm sorry, I'm all over the place. Supporter of Channen since the actual Pewer's confession in 2017. These witnesses also knew the truth about who actually committed the crime, but were being loyal to their friend by not snitching on him. Since his DEATH, or unaliving, they have come forward to help clear Channen's name. Numerous inconsistencies. Oh my gosh, these cases are filled with inconsistencies. That's so my husband's case. Numerous inconsistencies in statements of two key eyewitnesses, as well as recanted statements. Each time these key witnesses were asked about what happened the night of the pewing, their testimonies changed. One of the prosecution's witnesses has admitted to a private investigator that he was offered a deal. Oh gosh, and that has to be that right there is grounds for a new trial, because you can't keep that from the jury. Needs to know that someone was offered something for their cooperation. That's how I can't even think of his name. C. Merck. I can't think of Corey Miller. That's how he got his second trial. Though in that second trial he was found guilty. That's how he got that second trial, because they did not know that the eyewitnesses did not, they were actually being threatened with their own lives or their own cases, and that is why they turned evidence against him. And then they don't let the jury know this, so the jury thinking this person's just giving us information because they're being a good, person, not knowing that their life is in danger. So of course they're gonna whoever squeals first gets the deal first. Like, girl, that's another saying I came up with. One of the prosecution's witnesses has admitted to a private investigator that he was offered a deal in exchange for his testimony. Another key witness is a known criminal informant. Same thing, the same components, same story, different name. They were both admitted on the stand to lying to police. Channen had a solid alibi. It has been confirmed by several witnesses that Channen was in Claremore, Oklahoma, with his girlfriend and her family at the time of the viewing in Tulsa. His girlfriend picked him up in her sister-in-law's car on Friday at 11 p.m. and drove him to Claremore, about 40 minutes away. The viewing happened 3 hours after she picked him up and at 2 a.m. Saturday morning. And she didn't bring Channen back to Tulsa until Sunday at noon. Channen did not have a vehicle of his own and was relying on his girlfriend's family to bring him back and forth to Claremore. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. It is impossible that he was the viewer. The police failed to recover missing evidence. There is a Dollar General directly across the street from the scene of the viewing. It is believed that the video camera on the store caught the event of that night. None of the video footage was added to Channen's defense. That's exactly what I was saying in my husband's case with the 7-Eleven surveillance, like literally in the club surveillance. Why are these surveillance tapes not added? Because I believe they deleted, because once you delete that evidence, now we have to supplement you with evidence. You have to go with our supplemented evidence, which is our statements, which is our accounts, our eyewitnesses. Once you take, and there used to be this show where it was saying the camera is the best eyewitness. So once you delete that you can't really dispute, well, they can doctor cameras and stuff like that, but it's hard to dispute with the camera. But you can dispute with people's testimony. So once they take that out and put that supplemented evidence, now we have to go off of that. The jury has to formulate their accounts off of that. When that surveillance, and now that surveillance is long gone, that could have changed this. It could have changed it. And then even when my husband tried to come back off of these stances, they were saying, no, that wouldn't have never really changed anything. Like, how do you know? Like, literally, that would have proved his whereabouts. Because if he's at 7-Eleven, he can't be at that club in that parking lot. And then, okay, you don't want to pull 7-Eleven's surveillance. Well, can we pull the club? You lie and say, no, there's no surveillance in the club parking lot. A club and a hotel, there's no surveillance. But then later, it is found that they found there was a robbery in that parking lot, and they found their suspect by the surveillance. But you told us they had no surveillance. So why did you delete the surveillance cameras when we could have went by that and we didn't have to go by your word? It's because my belief, your word is conflicting with the surveillance. The surveillance would have showed the direct opposite of what you're saying. That's why you took that out. That's why you cut that hole in that map. So now it can lead you, the jury, in a different direction, right? That's crazy. It is believed that the video camera on the store caught the events of the night. None of the video footage was added to Channen's defense. We now know, because of the confession mentioned above, that the Merc weapon was disposed of near the scene of the fight. The police failed to retrieve that or even look for any other physical evidence that could solve this crime. I do believe a lot of these, if they're not deliberately trying to get people wrongfully convicted and trying to get it put off on someone, then it's very lazy, sloppy investigative work. Like, you got people now on TikTok doing more investigative work than the officers on these cases have done. I, over all these years, have done more investigative work than Marcello's defense did, than the officers did. Like, how? How is that? And we're not trained. We're not trained. And they're paid by our tax dollars to do so. How are we allegedly doing a better investigation, more thorough investigation than they are? Like, it really don't make sense. The detective on the case never looked at any other suspects. Once he had his sights on Channen, he never even tried to look into Channen's alibi, and there was zero evidence connecting Channen to this crime. That's usual in wrongful convictions as well. All this detective had was the weak testimonies of two known liars and felons whose stories changed several times throughout the investigation and trial. That is also true in my husband's case. The victim, Dominique Jasper, was a father, a son, and DIED 2 young men. Oh, I'm sorry. And DIED 2 young. His unaliving was tragic and left his family in mourning. And do realize when you wrongfully incarcerate someone, I study these cases, it's times they had to come back and tell people the person we had wrongfully incarcerated is not, we found out all these years later, he's not the one that offended your loved one if the loved one is gone or if the person is still alive. He's not the one that attacked you. We've had the wrong person. When DNA comes out, they've had to go back and retract. We've had the wrong person in prison. It opens that wound back up for that person. You're not getting justice not only to the person you have wrongfully incarcerated, then you also have the person that did it still on the street to commit more crimes. And then thirdly, the victim's family is not even getting true justice. Like, so how did this hurts everyone all around, but people don't care about a wrongful conviction. And it takes you decades to get out. If you get out. Because this is very hard to fight this. But there are people that get out. But no, for every story and every case that gets overturned, there are so many more that are not even being heard. So that means there's many more innocent in prison. Okay, the family in mourning, in the time they have lost, the pain suffering because of this crime can't be returned. However, incarcerating an innocent man for the past 12 years is not justice for the family. It's not. But they don't want to go back and tell the family, look, we didn't investigate. We didn't do all that we could have done. Like, can you imagine them having to come back and tell the family that? So rather than that, they'll rather just stick to this all the way. This is where we're gonna stay right here. We're gonna keep it like this. That way we don't have to open that door back up. That's a big reason. Channen has a family and friends who have already lost the last 12 years with him. Please help us to not lose another precious moment of Channen's life to a system that too often locks up the wrong people. This is a very true statement. Please offer your support to ask the courts for an evidentiary hearing to review the real evidence. Please help us to hashtag Unchained Channen. His petition starter is Shelly Davis. Okay, let's see, can we get that video to play again before I end this? I'm sorry for all the mistakes. Oh my gosh, my eye on the bed is like fuzzy and hazy, and I keep losing my spot. Black on white is not easy for me. You see that? I am legally blind, so black on white, and then this backlit is the light bothers my eyes. It's bright in here, that's bothering my eyes. So I made a lot of mistakes. I'm so sorry. I usually read a lot clearer than that, but okay, so let's see, can we get to the Instagram now? Did it connect back to the internet? But yeah, I can't let this fight, 23 years it just made that my husband's been wrongfully incarcerated. I can't make the fight for him to have been in vain. 23 of my years in my life have been in vain. So I've got to transfer that energy somewhere else. Like, if we can't get Marcello free, can we get somebody, help somebody else get to their freedom? And if that's the purpose in the first place, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. I think it's coming up. Because I believe that Channen is making some traction. So let's listen to, where is it? Let's listen to the video if we can. Please play. Yeah, I think it's gonna play. Is it?
Attorney General was supposed to have his brief due today in the case of Channen Smith in the federal court. But on Friday, he submitted a request for a 60-day extension to investigate the bases for the factual innocence claim and determine best next steps in the interest of justice. Whether he actually uses the 60 days to investigate the factual innocence of Channen Smith, or whether he tries to discredit the 5 witnesses who have come forward remains to be seen. But we have faith in God that Channen will be home soon. Can we talk about faith for a minute? Because it was Channen's faith that got him here. On the night that he was convicted, he was sitting in a jail cell, very angry at God. And God spoke these words to him: 7 years. Channen didn't know at the time what that meant, but then 7 years later, the actual shooter confessed to this crime. Since that confession, the Lord has revealed to many people, including myself, that Channen will get out of prison. He does have an anointing on his life, and the Lord has a plan for him. So it's Channen's faith in Jesus Christ that has gotten him this far. And we are so humbled and in awe and grateful for what the Lord is doing right now. We are so grateful to the federal judge who saw through the state's weak, horrible case against Channen. And we are so grateful that the media is picking this up and telling his story. We're grateful to the public who are signing his petition and who are supporting us. And we are just in awe of what God is doing. Please go to justiceforchannen.org to join the fight to bring him home.
Wow. And
Today is May
that
5th,
is what you're going to need. That's what I was told by the head of ACLU, that yes, it looks like they botched this case. They look like it. But the only shot that you have is to break his story in the media. But that's it. That's all you left with. Alright guys, time to hit work. Alright, it's your girl Channen.